Hey, what's up everyone? This is Dan the Movie Man with another big show for you today. We got Machete, The American, The Town, and Easy A. Later on in my show, I'll get to the results I asked you guys in August. And after that, I'll get to the next questions today. And after that, I've got some pretty interesting news again, like last month. So why don't we start off with Machete, starring Danny Trejo, Michelle Rodriguez, Cheech Marin, Steven Seagal, Jeff Fay, Lindsay Lohan, Jessica Alba, Don Johnson, and Robert De Niro. This movie called Grindhouse that was two movies filmed into one that were both directed by Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. And before Robert Rodriguez's one, Planet Terror, they showed a fake trailer called Machete, which was a senseless, violent action movie that had, basically it's the stereotypical action movie where it said like action, suspense, emotion, like trying to get the vibe of what a grindhouse was before it ever showed. And people loved that so much that when Robert Rodriguez went to Comic-Con, someone from the audience asked him, "Hey, Robert Rodriguez, is there any possibility that you might be making a Machete movie?" And he responded that there might be a possibility, like, yes, you could definitely have high hopes for that. And what do you know, 3 years later, Machete comes out in theaters. Now, what it's about is Danny Trejo plays this vigilante, he plays a assassin that is hired by this guy played by Jeff Fay to assassinate this corrupt senator who's played by Robert De Niro. But then he gets betrayed and decides to take action for himself, so he has a few allies, including she, played by Michelle Rodriguez, his brother, who is a priest, who's played by Cheech Marin, and a cop who's played by Jessica Alba, who has to do with illegal immigration around Texas. And so far you have the villains, who are Robert De Niro as a corrupt senator, Don Johnson as a bounty hunter, a vigilante, Jeff Fay, who works for Robert De Niro as some kind of councilman, and Steven Seagal, who plays a drug kingpin. So here's my review on this. It's one of those movies where it's kind of supposed to be advertised to be bad, but that's why it's good. Like, to me, I like this movie. I enjoyed it very much. It was definitely something I expected. Senseless violence, and if you're thinking that Dan the Movie Man only enjoys senseless action, violent movies, that's not true at all. In fact, I also love comedy, drama, sci-fi, and thrillers. So, yeah, I'm just saying that I went into the theater and knowing what to expect was senseless action, and that's exactly what it gave me. Like, senseless action movies, we mostly needed them, because if we didn't have senseless action movies, then, going to the movie theaters would probably be boring and we wouldn't be entertained. I mean, we'd probably be entertained with comedy and horror, but sometimes there are certain groups of people that want to see a senseless action violent movie, and if they go to the movie theater and there's nothing like that playing, then they're probably going to get mad. But I'm saying that most of the time we need senseless action movies like Transformers, Crank, even The Expendables. And this definitely showed the stereotype of what an action movie is, and it definitely gave the audience what it wanted, because that's what it was mostly advertising for. I mean, if someone who was a fan of Robert Rodriguez went into the theater and was expecting to see, you know, a senseless action movie, but instead they got like, you know, a movie that had no violence in it, or like one of his kiddie movies like Spy Kids or Shorts, then they'd probably be pretty pissed. But, you know, out of all, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it very much. Sure, it's kind of cheesy at some points, but that's what definitely makes the movie. That's what it's definitely advertising for. So I'm going to give this movie 4 stars, just taking the star out for a few reasons. One, that there wasn't really that much of a story. 2, Steven Seagal. And 3, Lindsay Lohan. You know, she didn't really play like a big part in it, but, you know, she was there for the movie. But, I mean, if you like senseless action violent movies, I highly suggest it. Well, next up we have The Americans, starring George Clooney. Now this one is about this spy who goes down to Italy, this is his last job and his last assignment to take out someone. But then he bumps into this girl and he really likes her, and he doesn't really want to tell her, but he also wants to tell her at the same time, and it's kind of complex with that. So here's my review on this. It was okay. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was just okay. I mean, there were some parts I liked in it, like the fact that George Clooney could take parts from a car or items in a garage and turn it into a sniper. And also, one thing I did like about the movie was that they had a few certain scenes that didn't have any music, which made it very realistic and, you know, calm and peaceful at times. But, you know, one thing I didn't like about it was that it wasn't what I expected it to be, because, like, I was expecting it to be like, you know, Born 20 years later, just, you know, going around beating up bad guys. But it more seemed like George Clooney on vacation. You know, I think that's what happened. George Clooney was going down to Italy for vacation, and there was a director filming The American, and he thought, you know what, Matt Damon just booked it. We need someone. Oh, there's George Clooney over there. Hey, Clooney, you want to be in a movie with us? And, you know, he said yes. So, but, you know, I thought it was okay, as I said. So here's my star review. I'm going to give this 3 stars. I mean, if you're a Clooney fan, then I highly recommend that you go and see it. If not, then this is probably something that you'd have to see on DVD. Next up, we have The Town, starring Ben Affleck, Rebecca Hall, John Hamm, Jeremy Renner, Blake Lively, and Chris Cooper. Now this movie is set in Boston, and it deals with bank robberies. And 2 of the bank robbers are played by Ben Affleck and Jeremy Renner. And technically they're basically the smartest criminals I've ever seen on screen, and there are 2 other guys that help them out. John Hamm plays this FBI agent who's investigating on their crimes and trying to figure out who they are behind their masks. And Rebecca Hall plays the love interest to Ben Affleck. She was at one of the banks that he robbed, and, you know, he starts to fall in love with her, and all his, you know, buddies, especially Jeremy Renner, saying, like, you know, you can't get involved with this. Eventually, she's gonna find out soon. Blake Lively plays this one girl in it who's kind of in a relationship with Ben Affleck, and Chris Cooper plays his father, who's in jail for whatever crime he did. So here's my review on this. It was actually very good. I did not have any problem with it, and, you know, I enjoyed it very much. It was definitely something I wanted to see again, and if you're from Massachusetts, it's definitely a lot of fun to see because they shoot it in some parts where people would think, oh, you know, I've been there before. And, you know, they also film it at Fenway Park, which is really cool. And, well, it's cool to see Ben Affleck walking around in a Red Sox windbreaker and, you know, Jeremy Renner wearing a Bruins jersey. Well, and they also got, you know, the Boston accents down perfectly. And to me, I thought Jeremy Renner stole the show. Like, he was probably the best part in the whole movie. And I thought John Hamm was pretty good. And, you know, story worked well, and all the characters were really developed well. And, you know, it was definitely something I would definitely see again. Now, for my star rating, I'm going to give this movie 5 stars. I absolutely had no complaints for this. And, you know, if you ever get a chance, I highly recommend it. Oh, and a friend of mine from college, he told me that he was an extra in the movie. And, like, you know, I honestly didn't see it. I'd have to see it again. But that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to go see it again, try to find him.